freeway here now in the Baldwin Park area. A suspected DUI driver here. My pilot is pointing out that I haven't actually introduced myself to tonight's streamers. This is Julia Dang and Jim Pollard overhead in News Chopper 4. And this driver now slowing down in the middle of the freeway, appearing to stop briefly. They're only going about 30 miles per hour now. Now, we saw this happening earlier, too, off the freeway. This driver slowing down, appearing to perhaps consider stopping. But nope, this chase continues westbound on the 10 freeway. Started with Monterey Park PD, eastbound on the 10, got off the freeway, and now CHP in hot pursuit, westbound on the 10. Unclear if this driver has a destination in mind. Veering between lanes here. Again, a suspected DUI driver here. We're not seeing anybody else in that vehicle. .605 north. Started in the Monterey Park area. .605 CHP in pursuit. Certainly not a high-speed pursuit tonight, but we have seen this driver rolling through intersections, veering between lanes, driving onto the shoulder, and speeding up now. And nearing speeds of 70 miles per hour here, northbound on the 10. Northbound on the 605. We are in Irwindale now, northbound on the 605.
Along those lines, Tim, we understand that police are running a brake, which means they are slowing traffic probably on that freeway behind this suspect so they can have cars not speed up and get in the way of this pursuit. Because if this car is going 40-something miles per hour, obviously if you're going normally down the freeway, 60 miles per hour plus, you're going to whiz right past them. You don't want other motorists in the way here, unsuspecting motorists.
Slowing down on the right-hand shoulder.
So if you run that brake, you stop that traffic right there. And police can deal with, we have seen now, bizarre behavior.
Stopped on the right-hand shoulder. We are seeing this driver gesturing out the window. Now we're seeing the car moving again. This has happened a couple times now where they've stopped, they've started driving again.
You're slowing down on the shoulder. And that gives you the opportunity to put out the spike strips.
An attempt finally to stop and get out of this car and yield to officers.
Yeah, does he run though? That's the big question.
Do something here to try to box him in or to pit maneuver him or do something to make this thing end.
Right now, the only thing they can do is just wait for him to start, getting out of the car, because if you get in front of him, you don't know what's in that car. You don't want to put another officer in the line of fire, things of that sort.
So
they're going to sit back and go in.
Driver to make a game time decision about whether they're going to get out and yield to officers or continue this pursuit. Again, what we know is this is a suspected DUI driver. Pulled over now.
The vehicle and try to pick up on any threat that might be in there, but you see.
Here and very, very bizarre behavior. Somebody who is knows that you need to come out with your hands up.
It looks like this driver has made the decision to continue
this
chase. We thought for a moment there they might be moving to get out of the vehicle and surrender to CHP here. And we're hearing on the scanner, I know there was a bright glare from
who thinks that, okay, showing his hands,
on the driver's side door there. We couldn't see really what was happening inside the car. We are hearing on the scanner here.
Really looks like he's having some
the driver appeared
episode
to
here, and now he's going to drive once again. So at some point, did police just say, we've had enough
LA
of this?
Avenue,
Let's
off the 605.
And they've shut down the freeway behind him in both directions. Is there a thought to
now we're hearing
pit maneuver him
onto
or
the
make this
northbound
car
605.
not work anymore?
Does not look
and
like
bring
this
thing
driver
to an
has
end?
a clear destination.
Well, they have a lot of things in their toolkits, and they're going through the scenarios of how they're going to handle it. Now it's getting off the freeway, but in a situation like this gives them time to get ahead and be ready for a spike strip, and then get right. Once it gets those speeds to where it's right through the intersection there and right back up, doing a ramping maneuver here where he goes through. But yeah, they're planning on to do something here as far as a pit maneuver or a spike strip or something of that sort. But then again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the dispatchers and the communications center.
On a Friday
who's talking? Maybe they're on the line.
Looked very different. Fortunately, we haven't seen any other drivers
who are telling them information about this person. So it's just a matter of getting all the intel you can on this driver to figure out what's the next step move. So they'll go through everything they can to try and end this thing peacefully without doing a lot of damage, such as with a pit. Have a tendency of going out of control, possibly hitting another vehicle or getting up on the sidewalk. But right now, it's right on the side of the freeway here, working its way along, and so they have to be aware of their surroundings before they try type of maneuver here.
So it is now past 10:30 on a Friday night. Usually this is when we air our political show. The issue worked very hard on and was excited to show you right now, but instead we've got this. If you want to watch that, you can stream that right now at YouTube. Alex Michelson. It is up there if you want to watch that. We will join that in progress when this thing is over. Hopefully it ends soon. But in the meantime, Fox 11, we continue to follow this pursuit. A driver who is wanted for DUI. We don't know his mental state. He looks agitated. We don't know if he's armed. We don't know the circumstances.
Back in Baldwin Park.
Pursuit. He has stopped several times on
where this driver got
haunted police, and he continues to move now on side streets in the San Gabriel Valley, Christine.
Exiting.
Say, hey, slow speeds. Why not do a pit maneuver right now? And Tim Lynn, you can weigh in, but it's officer safety. We don't know what's going on with this driver. We've already seen that bizarre behavior, and we don't know if there's a weapon in the car or how he'll react.
And turn.
Right, being on this side of the pursuit, having been in police work and flown police helicopters and also driven in pursuits, you have a lot more information
now on Stewart
on
Avenue.
Of the pursuit.
The driver took that left turn off of Live Oak.
The plans of the police as a helicopter pilot.
No traffic, slowing down now, about 25 miles per hour.
We're getting just bits and pieces of the information. We have to
stopping at a red light.
Figure out what's going on just by that little bit of radio traffic that we get. So right now, those officers on the ground have a lot more information.
The suspected DUI driver here, make that 3.
Yeah, they could be on the phone with the driver, on speakerphone. He's just yelling into the speaker.
Monterey Park PD initially in pursuit.
Or, the watchmaners made contact.
Got off the freeway, got back on the freeway, westbound 10, northbound 605.
Yes, it is keeping the hazards down. And time
back onto River Grade Road,
to where
southbound now.
Time is on their side to where they don't have to react quickly as if he was going
back
80, 90 miles an hour on the freeway.
This is one big
through these surface streets where
circle
they needed to
or
get
rectangle.
On in a hurry. But a decision is going to be made here pretty soon by a CHP to bring this to an end, either, as I said earlier, by a spike strip or by a pit maneuver. They're in the speed limit.
We are just going around and around, back onto Live Oak Avenue now.
It's up to them to make that decision to do
Baldwin Park, suspected DUI driver here being pursued by California Highway Patrol. This is after multiple stops where we thought it looked like this driver was going to get out and surrender. But at this point, we have not seen this driver
it's clear that he's communicating with them. We don't know. They obviously know what he's saying to them. At one point, he put his hands out. He clearly looked very agitated. screaming back and forth.
We're back at this intersection. It looked like Oak and Stewart Avenue. You'll remember
threatening to harm them
a minute or two
and
ago
how that may be
at the same intersection.
Informing their decision
the driver took that left-hand turn,
in terms of how to proceed. But it seems like they are really going out of their way not to be aggressive in their pursuit on this. At speeds like this, if they wanted to pit maneuver him, they certainly could.
Ever so slightly,
At
so you
speeds
can
like
see
this,
these
or this
two
situation, if they
CHP
wanted
units
to
behind
box him in and put
this
cars
car. They opened their doors.
they could as well.
Those CHP officers actually got out for a moment,
for
but
whatever
the
reason,
chase continues.
choosing not to do that.
Stewart Avenue again.
Well, they may have information that
left-hand turn off of Live Oak Avenue. This is now our second go around.
They don't want to antagonize this person.
Back at the intersection of Stewart and River Grade, taking that right-hand turn onto River Grade.
Coming from that vehicle, like with a weapon towards the officers.
Around and around in Irwindale.
The suspect may try to hurt himself. Yeah, you don't want to cause that to happen either. So,
and this driver still refusing
to make sure
to
this
stop.
thing comes in safely. But right now, it looks like they're just working with time and letting this thing work itself out. Because right now, he's not really putting a lot of people.
Okay, now, thanks to this merry-go-round, we are now on the other side of the car. We can try and get you
let it run its course. We don't have pedestrians necessarily of concern right now at this hour. Not seeing a lot of cars on any of the paths that this car has taken. So really, there aren't a lot of people in harm's way. The speeds aren't excessive. So maybe you're right.
As we widen out, you can see that we are right up against the Santa Fe Dam.
Yeah, and luckily with him on the surface street,
that's why the driver took that left turn.
He's staying in the same area. They may be able to get those spike strips out in front of him, but they have a plan. They know the area, and once they get into an area where they can kind of funnel it down toward next to east.
Still in Irwindale.
That's probably where it's going to happen right now. Just
3 CHP units.
The posture I'm seeing from the CHP is they're just waiting for the opportunity, and also waiting for more information to be able to take this thing, to bring this thing to a stop, because they're not being overly aggressive at all.
And
I mean, to their point, time is on their side, right? I mean, they're got plenty of officers. If they got to move somebody else in, they will. I mean, if really being threatened, and it really doesn't seem to be, as this guy sort of slowly moves around the side streets that seem to be empty and screams at the officers. They can just keep this going as long as they need to be. Ultimately, the officers are concerned with getting out of this safe. And if nobody else is really being threatened, I guess what's the point of unnecessarily provoking somebody?
Exactly, and you also have to keep in mind, and boil this down to its very base, this is nothing more than a property crime that they have right now. I mean, it's a vehicle that he's driving that possibly doesn't belong to him. They have no other information of another crime that we've heard of. So, you know, how far are you going to go?
Signaling that lane change now on the northbound 605 CHP in pursuit of this suspected DUI driver. Now this was heading northbound on the 605 earlier before this driver exited in the Baldwin Park, Irwindale area, made a couple circles, drove up alongside the dam, and then got back onto the freeway.
And just stopped chasing it completely, but right now getting back on the freeway, so this may change the dynamic.
Close to 90 miles per hour now.
Starts picking up speed, and
you know, if this continues, this driver eventually is going to run out of gas.
Yeah, back, like you said, on the freeway, 605 northbound, yet
again.
See them
just zooming past these other vehicles on the northbound 605 now.
Driving to an area that feels comfortable to them, familiar to them, even returning to their home or where their friends are, a neighborhood that is very familiar to them, where they know the streets as well. Hard to predict on this one. We've been in Monterey Park, we've been in West Covina, we've been on the 605 freeway, the 10 freeway, now 605 again. Do you get any kind of feel for what this driver's doing here?
No, not really. He just seems to work off the freeway, now getting back
the 605
on.
now.
And so we'll just see where if he starts heading back to the start point of this pursuit. And you're right. They'll areas that they're familiar with, because they'll try to get to an area where they have a friendly house to where they can run, go over a few fences, and then in the back door of a house before they can be seen. And once you're inside of a house, it's very difficult to locate them. So that's when you have like a suspect wanted for some type of crime who gets back into a neighborhood where he's from, and it has a lot of people there that he's able to hide in a house just by, coming over a couple fences. So you have that also, too. You get people, they get out to where
off the freeway
they have
on
no
Huntington
idea
Drive
what the freeway's doing. They have no idea what the streets are doing. And
they're now in
Duarte. They're driving just
started in Monterey Park, eastbound on the 10.
Familiar area that they're used to the streets.
Got off the freeway in the Baldwin Park area.
Keep it going and not come down a cul-de-sac.
Back onto the 10, westbound, northbound 605, got off the freeway, got back onto the northbound 605. We are now
right now, he's just working his way down, getting off now here at Huntington Drive.
Briefly hit speeds of 90 miles per hour on the freeway just now in the northbound 605.
There is no reason for the officers to really push this any harder. So right now he's not putting anybody in danger.
Slow
it's just
circles
a matter of wait and see. And
again
like
on
you said,
these surface streets.
So we continue to watch this pursuit. A reminder for those that were tuning in for the issue is at this time, for the first time in 6 years, we've
now when we see pursuit
so you can watch that right now at youtube.com/Alex Michelson, Tulsi Gabbard, Jane Fonda, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gavin Newsom, Josh Friday, our guests this week. And here on TV, we continue to follow this pursuit in the San Gabriel Valley. This driver now moving into this alleyway. This person suspected of driving under the influence and driving this person and frustrated with the officers behind. They have stopped a few different times to... Oh, and here we go. Maybe
it looked like it for a second there, didn't it, Tim?
Yeah, it did. It did, but it looks like he's going to have a way out. So they do that. They make that mistake.
This could be a private alleyway. This is behind...
They start weaving their way around. And especially getting into alleys here, they'll come to an end.
Coming up now on Central Avenue, making a right turn
through this neighborhood here
onto Central, westbound now.
Gate. Hopefully, this is the end of the road for him.
And the most residential neighborhood we've seen this driver in ever since we picked up this pursuit. This could go back out to a main street here. So here we go. He's going to get back on a main street and continue on this pursuit. Too bad.
This guy tells you that he knows that area. He knew that little back road.
You think he did?
That was a very small driveway he just went down.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I saw some people walking around in their backyard as well. Probably innocent people, probably heard the helicopter overhead, checking things out. But every now and then there is somebody who comes out who actually knows the driver.
Relatively
some kind
slow
of connection.
Speed
Maybe somebody made a phone call.
We got off
or
those
in their neighborhood. They're watching on
Central
TV.
Avenue
and
now,
there goes
westbound.
The person I know in
30
pursuit.
miles
They're
per
coming
hour.
by the house right now. But
no
yeah,
traffic.
That looked pretty random, but that was a very narrow street.
Yes. And that does happen quite pursuits to get back into the neighborhoods to where they've been watching it or they've been communicating, as you said, and they'll get out in the middle of the street and try to convince the guy to stop, to get out of the car. And I've seen many times moms standing out on the yellow line trying to get their kid to get out of the car, and then they just end up taking off.
Taking that left turn now from Central Avenue onto Highland Avenue.
The erratic manner that he was waving his hands and talking and doing things inside the car. Phone to somebody
with all the flashing lights behind
ranting on their own.
Highland Avenue now.
Consideration. So, but this thing here is going to get. I'm just feeling now they're going to get to a point where they're going to say, okay, enough's enough, and go up and either, at this point, probably do a pit maneuver. And hopefully it's not under the freeway like we've had them do before. But
they'll
turn
just now.
Make a call saying, okay, enough's enough.
After that railroad crossing,
unless they have
Highland
information
Avenue,
that
Duarte.
He's having a mental episode and that he's just trying to get back home.
Suspected DUI driver here does not appear to be anybody else in that car. Meaning California Highway Patrol.
So how's that work? So he goes home, pulls up in the driveway, and then they just
turn onto Circle Road.
He gets out of the car. He gets out of the car. I mean, what is that? He gets out of the. Helps him.
And again, we see California Highway Patrol doing what they did earlier, opening their doors,
and then that's good. He's
getting out of their units, flashing lights still on.
Less lethal rounds. You have all kinds of things.
We imagine
that you can bring into play.
Ordering this driver to yield.
The most dangerous weapon he has at this point is that car.
There they go again.
So if he
left turn.
This driveway, shoot one day that
Circle Road now.
On air. on a motorcycle, and the guy drove right up his driveway.
We saw that happening earlier with 2 CHP units behind this suspected DUI driver stopped at an intersection, opening both doors of each unit and getting out.
Just wants to go home. They'll stage officers at the house. So if he does
no
show up there,
compliance on the part of
the driveway,
this pursuit driver.
Just get to the front door, and they have tools and methods that they can use to stop.
This has been going on for close to an hour now.
Then you're dealing with family members that might be out there and not be cooperative. But like I said, you've gotten rid of it. It looks like he's going
out and trying to get a better shot of.
Well, we should note we're in the area of the City of Hope Cancer Center. Not sure if this is one of their lots or
and it looks like they found a parking structure.
Talking about.
Yeah.
A notoriously tough spot for airships to keep eyes on.
Almost looks like the entrance to the hospitals where you
park. There are ground units here. You saw those 3 CHP units following the pursuit driver into this parking structure in Duarte.
Well, we've seen suspects be able to flee in parking structures like at a mall or some kind of office building.
Whether that car came out the other side. Okay, so there was no attempt to bail out and leave the car in this parking structure.
They can block the exits.
Went in and came right back out.
Into the area if they can that are following and start blocking exits and keep them in that parking structure. And this time of night, it's not what we've seen before where they've raced in there really quick. They just came right back out. So they're just letting him go. In my mind now, what's going on here? They have an idea what they're chasing and what they're following, and they're just. There was perfect timing in that inside that parking structure forced him into an area where he couldn't have gotten out because you have parking berms, you have poles, you have very thin exits coming out of there, so they could have very easily blocked him into that parking structure, but they chose not to. There's something else going on here, just from my prior experience in law enforcement and the way they're acting. There's more going on here that meets the eye.
So we're northbound on Highland now, and if that also sounds familiar, we are circling back to where we just were before this driver entered a parking structure and then came right back out.
What the problem is, and not fearing that it's a violent person necessarily, but as you mentioned, perhaps having some kind of breakdown here that they want to work with in a different manner than being aggressive.
Right, and the thing is what the officers are trying to do on a pursuit
and
like
as
this
they lead us around and around
versus driving at a high rate of speed,
it does make you wonder about the resources being used to pursue drivers like this one. We have seen no attempts
slow speed,
to yield and surrender to California Highway Patrol. Suspected DUI driver here,
putting that
Flower Avenue.
To the other drivers. I mean, it's not causing that issue to where you're going to ram somebody onto a red light. Staying in a residential area right now.
That would be our third
even when he came up to a red light, he would stop and did signal as he makes his turn.
No traffic
it always cracks me up when they're using their and they're doing all that during pursuit because it's just motor skills and mental type things that cause you to do that without even thinking.
Now we're hearing
right now, they're just
CHP discussing the possibility of setting up a spike strips, and again, this has been going on for close to an hour now.
Over and stop trying to get to.
And with
there's got to be more
few drivers on the roads here,
a little more aggressive than this,
and slower speeds. This could be an opportunity to lay out a spike strip.
Following until he just decides to stop and get out. I mean,
could this be another false alarm? We've seen this driver at least 4 times now slow down, appear to stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Perhaps consider surrendering and then continue going.
This that I would love to hear the follow-up tomorrow. If we don't see an end to this tonight by the end of our shift, I'm very curious to know what happened here.
You saw that school crossing back there on Highland Avenue. Thank goodness, of course, this is not happening during the day.
CHP as to how they decided what to do on this one.
With students.
I've heard that
other
over
pedestrians
and over again while working for the media, and also now after being with the media.
No other cars.
People
we are hearing CHP discussing the possibility of laying out a spike strip.
Tell us what happened when this thing goes away at 11 with. What was the real problem?
Back onto Huntington Drive, and you'll recall this is where the suspected DUI driver exited the northbound 605 earlier, and that was part 2 of this driver's
And,
drive on the 605.
It gives the insight to
exited once in the Irwindale area, got back onto the 605 north, and then exited.
End it safely, and also deal with what's going on in that car. So right now, we're just going round in circles here through these residential streets.
I'm seeing something on the driver's side.
Probably what's going to happen. He's going to get where he thinks he's going, or he wants to be.
Arm that we just saw coming out of the window?
Pull over, and then you're going to have the situation at the end. So, yeah, a follow-up would be a good segment. Following up on the last 4 pursuits
we had resources, ground units on this pursuit.
Unfortunately, our collective attention spans are short, and tomorrow there'll be another pursuit.
Safely.
So then people will be
right turn now off Central.
And want to see how that one ends.
Exactly. Yeah, if you don't have an end to it. I mean, if you don't have this one here, if we come to the end of the show,
we're doing circles.
I'd like to know what happened here at the end, and you know, I can find out, but it's just a matter of where it ends, you know, and who I know, and a lot of most people don't have that opportunity. So, but yeah, it's also show what police officers do.
And if you can make out that straight sign, like we're still on Central.
Did what they did during the pursuit, because you have all the armchair quarterbacks out there, you know, demanding this, demanding that. Why aren't they doing that? There's guys in those black and whites that have a lot more training and a lot more information than we do, sitting here watching it from high above.
What I am noticing is this suspect has been staying in the San Gabriel Valley area.
Still westbound on Central.
A little while here now, and we've noticed that the suspect has been on freeways, off freeways, twice now in San Gabriel Valley. So this is an area that is familiar to this suspect, that they might know some of these streets, maybe not all of them, but some of them, because they haven't gotten back on freeways and taken off, say, towards Santa Monica or County. They're back here in this similar area.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Continuing down
Looks like he is in no hurry to get away from the officers, so he's not feeling threatened by them. And it's just a matter of cruising along. Like I said earlier, he could be on the phone with a family member right now, you know, giving his side of the story, and of course, not listening to the response and just continuing along. So, yeah, who knows what's going on in that car right now?
Yes, we do not know what's going on in that car right now, but we will continue to follow it
continues along Central
as
Avenue.
we are here this Friday night watching this pursuit,
what in the world is going
a
on
slow-speed pursuit.
These multiple CHP units
for San Gabriel Valley area. We're now at Central Avenue and Buchanan Avenue. If you live in the neighborhood, not much of a threat right now to public safety. That's the good news. But there, you know, we're all interested to see how this thing ends, and
was about 90 miles
a
per hour
peaceful
on the freeway
manner, relatively soon.
This started in the Monterey Park area,
for everybody involved,
off the freeway,
the driver and the officers
northbound
as
605,
well,
off the 605,
who are being
back on
especially
northbound
cautious
605,
in staying off
here we are now, still in the
taking any aggressive actions to end this thing quickly, and sort of letting it play out on this Friday night.
Here on
so I believe we passed Duarte High School,
center lane poised to continue
just a short time ago.
Along Central
look at the speeds
Avenue.
here.
We'll see if these
15
CHP officers do what they did at a couple other intersections when the driver
not a high-speed
came to a stop
by any means at this point in
open
time.
their doors and
freeway had
get out and demand
now,
this
does the
driver
suspect
surrender.
Get out of the car here. Remember, we had that erratic behavior where the suspect had the windows rolled down slightly, was gesturing erratically at officers. This was twice now. And this is an opportunity right now for the suspect to just get out of the car and end it.
Because the airship is
I'm not so sure I see that happen.
The night sunlight down on this pursuit driver.
The Skyfox slides down just a little bit more. We might see that he's sitting on a red light. So I'm kind of waiting for that to come into view to where we can see what the phase of the light is. He's sitting at a red light at this point, but you know, and we've seen that. And then
there we go.
Waiting for this.
Yeah, gesturing
light to
again.
turn.
Looks very
continuing
agitated.
Along Central Avenue now.
Nationally, this is somebody who was wanted for driving under the influence. Influence of what? We don't know. Also, what these officers may know about his mental state, if he is having some sort of mental breakdown, if he is threatening self-harm or harm them. But the way that he is gesturing and the sort of passion in his
crawling at about 15 miles per hour.
To the leads one to believe that he is not well right now. And that clearly seems to be a factor
Still crawling.
in
CHP keeping pace
the
with
officers going out of their way to give this person space and time to bring this thing to an end on his terms, and frankly not on their terms.
Turning into another lot here.
Looks like
Earlier
a
it was
weighted
a
out
parking
situation
structure
to
this
try
driver
to
took us through.
give this person some space.
And it was right into the parking structure and back
thing.
out a minute later.
So we're moving into what
Ignoring
looks
that
to be
stop
maybe
sign.
a parking lot of possibly an apartment complex or businesses here. Hard to tell. Looks like maybe some businesses. You know, where is he going to go next?
Yeah,
He's been circling this neighborhood for a while, so you
clear.
wonder about his familiarity with this neighborhood. Is this his hometown? Will he home, as Tim Lynn suggested? We're now near a Target.
And just a reminder for everybody streaming with us
officers
here
seem to block
tonight.
off that one alleyway.
Our show starts in about 2 minutes.
And he continues to move.
Well, of course,
as we now approach
this pursuit that started in Monterey Park with Monterey Park PD in pursuit. A suspected DUI driver here.
Stay out of the way, but sitting behind that
has
Target
gone
waiting for
on
it to go
and
by.
off the freeways.
It's just a matter
and
here.
We are just doing circles here, waiting for this driver to run out of gas.
Agitation is not translating into the accelerator pedal, and he is driving at that mindset. So it looks like he went through the parking lot to the main streets. But yeah, you have the local PDs are all in the area, staying out of the way. And
Copy that. We are about a minute out from the top of our newscast.
We know from prior pursuits, once CHP takes over.
And this driver now getting back onto the freeway. This time, the 210 West.
CHP is the pursuit says they will not combine with another agency. It's just one of their policies that they use. But yeah, right here again, like I said, going back to my prior
driving
statement,
under the 210,
looking at the way
turning off Central Avenue.
They have some information that this person is not stable. You know, unlike some of our other drivers that we have out there who are just trying to get away because they committed a crime. This is a person who's not stable, either by drugs, alcohol,
left turn onto
or mental
Evergreen.
state. And they're going to give him time to
now in the Monrovia area.
Work this out on his own. And in the meantime, he is not putting anybody in harm. But if he starts driving in an erratic manner, then they will go to a more aggressive pursuit to where the pit maneuver will probably happen because he's in the perfect area right here.
Yeah. We're going to hand this off to Marla Tejas soon for Good Night L.A. as we watch this pursuit here. This suspect is near freeways and clearly choosing to stay on surface streets. Alex?
So tonight the issue is pursuits, which is what we do in Southern California, and frankly the thing people care about the most. So again, if you want to watch The Issue Is with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jane Fonda, Tulsi Gabbard, Josh Friday, Gavin Newsom, check that out at youtube.com/Alex Michelson or The Issue Is podcast.
We've been overhead on this pursuit for close to an hour now. This started in the Monterey Park area. This driver, again, a suspected DUI driver, led initially Monterey Park police eastbound on the 10 freeway. This then exited the freeway. It was headed northbound. It turned, headed back southbound, and then got back onto the 10. It was headed westbound before getting on the 605 north. And you can see here live California Highway Patrol attempting to lay out what looks like a spike strip here, but this driver making a quick right turn. We're now on Mountain Avenue. We're back in the Duarte area now. Again, suspected DUI driver. This started with Monterey Park police. Now California Highway Patrol in hot pursuit. This has been on 3 freeways now, eastbound 10, westbound 10, and a northbound 605 before this driver exited Huntington Drive. Now, before you came to us live as we were streaming, you can see this driver really slowing to a crawl, going 10 to 15 miles per hour, even stopping a couple times for up to a minute at intersections and even along the right-hand shoulder of the 605 north. But not once have we seen this driver, this suspected DUI driver, actually make an attempt to get out of the car and perhaps surrender to CHP. You saw that airship flying through our shot. They have air resources on this, ground resources as well as we widen out this shot You can count with us the number of CHP units in hot pursuit. We've got 1, 2, 3 right there. Fortunately, what we have not seen here is this driver doing anything recklessly endangering the lives of pedestrians or other drivers. We have not seen any near crashes, and we unfortunately do see that with a number of pursuits that we cover in LA. But this driver continuing now on Euclid Avenue.
Julia, it's Colleen. Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear, Colleen.
Okay, the one thing you've noticed was we've been watching this for about 45 minutes or so while you were streaming as well, is that the driver, this is some of the fastest speeds that we've seen, except for being on the freeway at one point going 60 to 90 miles an hour. On surface streets, he's been doing pretty much 20 to 30 miles an hour. You would think that's an optimum time to pit and stop this car. They've come very close, but they haven't done a pit maneuver yet.
That is exactly right. We've been keeping an ear on the scanners as well. We have heard a couple conversations on the CHP scanner about possibly setting up a spike strip, but you're right, Colleen. It could be an opportunity with light traffic, no traffic around at other times to do a pit maneuver. But we have not seen that. We have not heard anything about a possible pit maneuver. Unclear why they are holding back from doing that. Again, a suspected DUI driver here. This has been going on for close to an hour now. This driver is eventually just going to run out of gas.
Well, the other thing that I couldn't help but notice is that several times the car has stopped at an intersection. There's been a conversation between the CHP officers, or at one point in the beginning with Monterey Park. So there's actually been some sort of communication between the driver behind the wheel and the black and white patrol units directly behind and chasing him.
That is what this situation appears to be. Now, we unfortunately cannot hear Monterey Park Police. Their scanner is encrypted. But we could see this driver, this suspected DUI driver, reaching for some kind of device in their car earlier. Perhaps a phone. Perhaps that light that we saw was their phone screen, and maybe that was a call that was being placed. But yes, we have heard CHP talking about communication between CHP and Monterey Park PD and this driver.
And where is he right now?
Turning now into another parking lot. This is now the third, at least the third time we've seen this driver turning into a parking lot.
What is this? Is this an apartment building, commercial area?
It looks like a commercial area. As we come out a little bit wider, you can see the bright lights near the top of the screen. It looks like there are restaurants there.
Okay, and now he appears to be in more of a residential area. Give us an idea of what street we're on here, Julia.
That's right. This is now Duarte Road.
Duarte Road.
And it does look like a residential area.
And you're in Duarte now?
That is correct.
What was the original want on this?
First, we were hearing simply failure to yield, but then it became clear this is a suspected DUI driver. So we are, of course, on high alert for anything reckless this driver may do. But it has been a fairly slow speed pursuit off the freeways.
Off the freeways, he's over 40 miles an hour, between 30 and 40 at this point. Again, that's some of the fastest we've seen this car move all evening. Do we know how many people are in the car?
We don't have this confirmed, but from what we can see, and we have been on the driver's side of this car, we've been on the passenger side, we've gone in with the doublers on our camera once, twice, 3 times. We have not seen any signs of other occupants, just the driver at this point.
Does it surprise you not to see very much traffic out there on a Friday night?
You know what? I did comment a couple times on that. Even at this time of night on a Friday, you expect more cars. But I guess it's good news. Oh, and we see this driver rolling down the window at this intersection, Business Center Drive in Duarte.
And again, we've seen that several times, at least half a dozen by my count, where the drivers rolled down the window, at some point even extended his or her hands outside the window and had some sort of communication with the officers behind him.
I'm hoping that he just gets frustrated enough to get out of the car.
Another
Give us an idea of what we're looking at here. Are we on a residential street? Have we pulled out of that commercial area? Or are we back in a parking lot?
So it looks like what that driver just did as we were zoomed in there. They sped up a little bit and drove through Business Center Drive back to Evergreen. And now this maneuver, right, turning in circles, going back down the same roads. This is something that we've been seeing since we got eyes on this pursuit. Now back on Business Center Drive. This could be an area with, it looks like office buildings.
And again,
and these are right turn again.
These are CHP officers in pursuit here.
That is correct. California Highway Patrol, they took this over from Monterey Park Police after it started in the Monterey Park area. Of course, when it got onto the freeways, it was eastbound on the 10 initially. Monterey Park handed this to California Highway Patrol. But we could hear on the scanners, the CHP scanners, that Monterey Park was initially still behind this car. As we widen out, though, you can see for now it's just these 3 CHP units. And of course, the airship overhead with us.
Julia, what is the freeway you're paralleling there?
That, if I am not mistaken, is the 210. We are now on Central Avenue, back on Central Avenue.
In the city of Duarte?
He needs to get up into the range that makes it go around, and then now, is there a information that...
Once again, as we look at this, this would seem to be a perfect time to initiate any kind of pit maneuver or put out spike strips. There are not very many cars out there on the road. I say not very many. I haven't seen any cars so far at all. Julia, can you give us an idea of what you're coming up on here?
That we have.
Now with that night sunlight from the airship overhead, see if we can get a better shot of who is in this black sedan.
Ending these pursuits, but it seems to be they've taken the tack of just follow and see what happens and see if he stops. But like I said, if he starts driving aggressively and things that sort.
Okay, and you're the 605 now, turning off of Central Avenue into this alleyway. Now, we've seen this maneuver as well earlier, driving through what appeared to be a private alleyway.
Is that a park?
This looks like
or a golf course or something, all that green on one side?
It appears to be. And this is now close to a residential area.
Are there any other landmarks, or does it appear there are cul-de-sacs? Does this guy know the area? I mean, what's your best gauge on this?
Parallel to the 65 North now, and this pursuit had 2 stretches earlier on the 605, northbound both times.
Does it appear
he's exiting at Huntington Drive and leading us in circles on surface streets here?
Does it appear he's looking to get back on the freeway and is just trying to find his way out of this residential area?
Now we're in an alleyway. Again, we're in Duarte, so always want to remind
Julia, can you hear me?
Here in this neighborhood, stay inside. Lock your doors, close your windows. Tim, we've been over pursuits together recently.
We appear to have lost the audio on this, but we're going to stay with the picture here. As you can see, they're still in Duarte. Let's listen in.
One of those majors that to continue along this alleyway behind backyards. We have not seen any pedestrians. So that, at least, is good news. And yes, it is a little surprising to me how little traffic there is around this driver.
CHP picked it up. We've gone through.
Once again, we're in the city of Duarte right now. Appears to be in a residential area on Huntington Drive and Las Lomas there. If you're just now joining us, let me just let you know what we know about this. This started in Monterey Park this evening with a suspected DUI. Monterey Park police followed him on surface streets out there. We've seen a lot of this stop and go, and
if not more, trying to do the math on the fly.
As he's turning the corner there, the window's down. He almost appears to be communicating. Again, this was originally in Monterey Park. The PD there followed him for quite a while. When he got on the freeway, the 10 freeway and the 605 freeway, that's when the CHP took over, and it would appear the CHP is with him now. We've been watching him, very erratic driving, very, very, very slow speeds. Sometimes you see him right now under 10 miles an hour, cutting through driveways. Looks like now the CHP is almost getting a little more aggressive here.
And then he turned around. I don't know if they got him or not. But going through that,
and I'm wondering if we could bring Julia back in. Huntington Drive once again in the city of Duarte. He almost appears to be going in circles, going through many parking lots there. And in fact, at one point we saw him drive into a parking garage, turn around and come out the other side with with about 4 or 5 black and white patrol cars behind him. We can bring up her audio again. Julia, are you with us?
A way they're going to get this thing to come to an end is to take out his tires to where the car just doesn't operate in it. But every time they do that, you see he picks up speed.
Julia, can you hear me now?
Into the 40s.
I got you loud and clear now, Colleen. IFB is breaking up here. Radios are getting a little scratchy as we near the hour mark of this California Highway Patrol pursuit. We are now back onto Foothill Boulevard, East Foothill Boulevard, back in the Irwindale area. Now, you saw a couple minutes ago this suspected DUI driver stopping at an intersection, leaning out of their window and saying something to CHP officers, visibly agitated. And then they did what they've done at least half a dozen times by our count. They continued this pursuit. Southbound Irwindale Avenue now, back in Irwindale, California.
So is that paralleling what, the 210 or the 10 freeway or the 605 there?
We want to let our viewers know we're now in Irwindale.
The 605.
The 605. Again, this area seems to be very familiar. He keeps going back to the place. We've seen him go through this area before. And the CHP almost appears to be getting a little more aggressive now. Is that what it looks like to you?
That is what it looks like to me. You see them doing it right here as this driver turns through this parking lot. Earlier, we could see CHP essentially keeping pace with this driver when they slowed to speeds of 10 to 15 miles per hour. These California Highway Patrol units on the ground would do the same. It looks like they're closing that gap now. Could they perhaps be setting up for a pit maneuver? We saw what looked like an attempt to set up spike strips earlier. That, of course, did not work. The driver made a quick right turn and maneuvered away from that.
What's also interesting about this, if this was a suspected DUI driver and not a stolen car, then they could run the plates and find out who's behind the wheel here, correct?
They could. There could be additional wants on this. What we're hearing is simply suspected DUI driver, failure to yield. Either way, this is going to be a felony stop whenever this driver does either decide to give it up or run out of gas.
How often does that happen, where they let a driver go like this until they run out of gas? I don't remember one in a very long time.
Yes.
We have seen, it seems like anything and everything on these pursuits, but this has been going on for longer than recent pursuits we've covered involving all agencies. This, again, is California Highway Patrol now, but it started with Monterey Park Police.
I should have known that. Pardon me. So it's a
Give us an idea.
Colleen, you made the point earlier. We don't know what they're waiting for to attempt a pit maneuver.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, it looks like they backed off once again. Give us an idea, Julia, of where we are at this point and what's ahead for this driver.
North Todd Avenue now, Azusa. And we don't know if this driver is going to continue along Todd Avenue or perhaps start turning circles again. We've seen them entering alleyways, parking lots, driving through that business park, and then again, we've seen this before as well. This driver stopping, leaning out the window again. Does that look like... I was going to say, does it look like hands up? But before I could even get the words out of my mouth, this driver continued.
Hands out, and the flashers are on.
And to the best of our knowledge, it looks like there may be one person in this car. I know the windows are pretty heavily tinted, but we've only seen the driver and nobody on the passenger side.
he's going to harm
That's
himself,
correct. We see some items in the back, but we have not seen any signs of other occupants, just the driver for now.
Trying to say the difference between a pit and the spike strips is it's less
driving now with that driver's side window down, leaning out every so often to gesture at police and say what we don't know. But California Highway Patrol did say earlier that there was communication between this driver and Monterey Park PD, the agency, of course, that initiated this pursuit.
When you say communication, you mean what we've seen here where the driver is out the window and shouting back at the officers, or have they been able to communicate with him on a cell phone as well? Do we know?
That we don't know. We don't know if these California Highway Patrol officers or CHP has been in communication with the driver. We did hear earlier that Monterey Park PD, the initiating agency on this pursuit, may have been in communication with the driver. We do know the driver has some kind of device in that car, perhaps a phone we saw them reaching for earlier. And then, of course, just that ground communication, the car-to-car communication every so often when they stop at intersections, leaning out the window and shouting something.
I can tell you as well, our assignment desk has been working this from inside the station here, and they have reached out to Monterey Park Police, and I'm told they have declined to return our phone calls for information on this. As we watch this and you realize the number of pit maneuver opportunities they may have missed, you have to wonder if the driver might be having some sort of mental health crisis as well.
That is always a concern. And of course, keeping in mind the safety of other drivers.
We've seen this play out over and over. Looks like,
but I'm sure there's more to it. I'm sure there's more to this story. I know our assignment desk has been working their contacts, trying to get in touch with the initiating agency, Monterey Park Police, trying to learn more about not just what's happening here, but what led to this pursuit. Of course, if this is not a stolen vehicle and this is being driven by the rightful owner, simply running that license plate could lead to more information.
Again, still in the city of Azusa on West Foothill Boulevard at this point.
And they're staying in the background, like with that one officer.
Foothill Boulevard, Azusa. We were just here, making a right-hand turn now back onto Todd Avenue.
What is surprising is the lack of traffic out there this evening, both on the freeways when we watch this and on surface streets. And of course, in, what is this, another parking lot?
It is another parking lot cut right across Todd Avenue there after turning right off of Foothill Boulevard. Another parking lot. You know, you have to wonder, does this driver think they're going to shake CHP by turning into parking lots, driving through these narrow alleyways?
So we're in a business park.
Not at 10 miles an hour.
Over and over, and to your point, this is the
Yep,
city of Azusa.
back to speeds.
To your point that he certainly knows
50, 60 miles per hour now. The fastest we have seen this driver going was earlier on the freeway, about 90 miles per hour.
Into the 40s and 50s.
But
it got up to
back on East Foothill Boulevard now in Irwindale.
And here we go again into the 60s. So this is pretty
Julia,
rare.
how many patrol cars are following him now?
Like
and do you still have the law enforcement chopper overhead as well?
A black hat. I couldn't make
we do. It appears we still have 3 California Highway Patrol units pursuing the suspected DUI driver. Airship overhead. And we are not hearing any plans to try a pit maneuver. Irwindale Avenue.
Well, he's certainly picked up speed. Is he getting back on the freeway?
The freeway.
Which one?
Westbound 210.
This pursuit that is underway. CHP is
westbound 210 now. So again, this started in Monterey Park, eastbound on the 10, off the freeway, westbound on the 10, northbound on the 605, off the 605, back on the 605, northbound, and then off the 605 for quite a stretch of time. Now westbound on the 210.
To the west here to see how far he goes.
What is interesting is the 210, that stretch out there has seen a lot of Caltrans workers, especially on the weekends and late at night. and you have to wonder if he will run into some of that. I just saw a sign for the 605. Is he headed in that direction again?
It appears he is in that right-hand lane, so transitioning, if he stays in that lane, from the 210 west back to the 605. And yes, we hope they don't run into any Caltrans workers doing late-night work here on the freeway. You saw this driver earlier. It was on the 605 north, veering off to the right-hand shoulder and stopping momentarily there.
So 605 south
back
now?
On the 605 southbound this time from the 210 west.
So this is the fastest it's been going, really, and we picked it up.
You have to wonder with speeds now 65, 75 miles an hour if the CHP might be a little more aggressive in their tactics. Obviously, those speeds are too fast for any kind of pit maneuver, but if they'll tighten up the gap between this driver and those patrol units.
From you tonight, though,
and as you say it, Colleen, we see this CHP unit in the lead appearing to do just that, closing that gap ever so slightly. But there may have been some missed opportunities off the freeway earlier for a pit maneuver, perhaps another spike strip attempt. I think we see this car's blinker now.
Yeah, it looks like his flashers are going. Both of them. Or is it just the one on the right-hand side? It's hard to see from this angle.
Let me adjust the lighting here. It could be both. It could be hazards. Another warning for other drivers on the road. This is not business as usual. As I widen out, you can see 1, 2, 3 CHP units still in pursuit here.
And amazingly, very little traffic ahead. Still in Irwindale on the 605 south. So the first freeway he will come up upon is...
You know what? Let me get the map and make sure we get the... I believe that is correct, the 60.
Okay. Has he been on the 60 at all, or has it just been the 10 and the 605 and the 210?
No, during our time overhead on this pursuit, it's just been the 10 and then the 605, the 210, and then back on the 605. And when I say the 10, of course, it was eastbound 10, westbound 10, 605 north, off the 605, 210 west, and now 605 south.
Julia, what is he doing now?
Okay, exiting now.
At Arrow Highway and
Arrow Highway eastbound in Irwindale.
Pretty clear that this suspect knows
it's so dark out there right now. Can you paint a picture for us? Is this an industrial area?
Innocent driver here clearly doesn't realize.
It is, and we've seen this driver leading California Highway Patrol through a variety of areas, business parks, industrial areas, residential areas, along a dam, through alleyways, through very narrow private alleyways that were practically in backyards, but eastbound now on Arrow Highway after exiting the 605 south, still in Irwindale.
And I understand all of what you're saying about the pit and versus the spike strip to bring this to an end, but it gets a little bit more...
Have they backed off him once again?
...intense once it's on the freeway and there are other drivers coming home.
Eastbound on Arrow Highway now. I paused just now. I thought I heard on the California Highway Patrol scanner a conversation about attempting a pit maneuver, but the response that I picked up was not at this time. So I'm not sure what they're waiting for. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is. But again, no attempts to do a pit here on this suspected DUI driver.
And again, if you're just now joining us, this was the want on this was DUI stop, suspected DUI driver here in Monterey Park. No doubt law enforcement has had an opportunity to run the plates here. They know who's driving. They've also had an opportunity to come almost face to face with this driver. As he pulls around the corner, he will often stop, roll down the window, and have some sort of conversation with law enforcement behind him.
And so, just as long as they've been following this person, there's more to this than
And as this continues, back on River Grade Drive, and Colleen, you were asking earlier, is this an area the driver might be familiar with? Possibly. This is our 4th, 5th pass on River Grade Drive. But we're going to try and go in a little bit tighter just to get some definitive answers about who is and is not in this vehicle. We're not seeing anybody else, but we're now on the passenger side. We can get a better look. We're going to go in with a double RNC.
There is a uniform for the state of California.
I haven't asked you, Julia, what kind of car is this? It's hard to tell. It's a sedan?
It is a black sedan. I can't make out make or model, but black sedan.
And again, on
black four-door sedan.
Yeah, on Live Oak right now, once again in Irwindale.
Try Hungry Jack's new range made with Kit Kat, a soft, creamy, chocolatey storm, and new barista iced drinks.
About 50 miles per hour, Live Oak Avenue. If that sounds familiar, we were on Live Oak earlier from River Grade. We were stopped at this intersection.
Departments that I've watched, they just do straight up.
Stopping for this red light now. You see that CHP unit creeping a little bit closer. All 3 of them now closing in, but they're not moving to do what they did earlier and getting out of the car and demanding this driver stop. From our vantage point now, we also don't see the driver leaning out the window and shouting at these officers.
We've seen that exact scenario at least 8 to 10 times this evening so far. He will stop,
we have.
They inch closer, they wait a couple of seconds, and then he takes off again. Although he's, again, not speeding by any stretch of the imagination.
We have seen that so many times, I've lost count up here. And, we can speculate about any number of reasons. California Highway Patrol has more information about the driver, about what he or she may have in the car, about their condition, about what led to this pursuit, which again started with Monterey Park Police. Our assignment desk is working to get more information because I'm sure the situation that unfolded